Chapter 7. Let's get cooking. So the first thing I decided to do after we stopped adventuring was expand the basement so our farmer had more room to work with. Not that I really think he was using it all that much anyway, but I needed room to add more rooms to our facility and the upstairs was getting crowded. So I built a giant glass donut. This big observation platform would allow us to see parasites incoming from all directions. This was running to be vital to our survival. And after that, I even put steel doors on the base that we stole from that abandoned facility. These would make sure that nothing could just smash their way in and, terrorize us anymore. The wooden doors weren't exactly holding up too well. And since I was already putting some fortification on the base, I also decided I really needed to do something about the tiled area I had set up. And I was finally going to turn it into the kitchen slash office storage space that I've wanted it to be the entire time. So I got to work on that, and I got that all set up. It was going to look a lot nicer not having a corner full of vines, and having a place to store more stuff since the main area was getting overrun with way too much junk. No organization at all, to the point where it was giving me a headache. I tried to make a crafting table out of crafting tables. It was a lot. And shortly after finishing my kitchen, I decided to make a document crafter so I could put the documents that we found inside of that abandoned facility to good use. These things would allow me to summon powerful entities. Entities that would let us do things that you probably shouldn't be able to do. For example, the first one was an unlimited pizza box. This means that I would never have to hear anybody complain about food ever again, and I totally made our farmer's job entirely irrelevant. Now, granted, it is pizza, so it's not the best food source in the world, and we'd probably have to replace it anyways. And I honestly wasn't that hungry for the pizza. But I still flooded the kitchen with pizza anyway so that nobody could complain that they didn't have enough food. Because the kitchen was completely full of pizza at this point. I had more pizza than I knew what to do with after spending about 20 minutes just taking slices of pizza. Then Cameron decided he wanted another portal. So I warned him. As soon as we set this thing up, stuff was just going to start pouring through it. So I built a steel box to put it inside of, and he went ahead and started building it while I was still forming the box, but luckily nothing did come through and assault us when we did such things, so it all went pretty well. And I'm a little more excited about this part of the story, to be honest, than the rest of the part I get to tell, because this is the part where things started looking up. We were building a base that felt more home-like than anything we've had in the past. Still, yeah, it's a doomsday bunker at the end of the day, and it wasn't exactly the coziest place, but hey, it was safe, and things were starting to get good. We had complete sustainability on this island now, for once. We had the entire area under control, which is something we weren't able to say about any of our previous locations. It was a real nice place, though. The nicest looking that we'd had in a while. I made the outside look real pretty, surrounded the island partially with some molten metal since those can't be infected and would burn parasites to death. We also got the entire island to be floating. Specifically, I did, for the most part. Spent hours just digging out huge voids of air pocket underneath the island. So, yeah. My excavation skills were put to the test, But I managed to get this entire thing, besides maybe a column here and there of dirt or sand, to be disconnected from the underground. It was really good. Kept the parasites from being able to come up to the ground and infect us from below. For the most part. There was always going to be exceptions, because these stupid things keep evolving and doing stuff that I didn't even know they could do. But it was really nice having an island fully protected from them. It allowed me to expand and do some landscaping, and started to take some of the mushroom grass from the other biome, and I was going to start filling in some of the island and like little flower beds with it so that I could have some of that for use later, specifically in helping me with some recipes in the future in my brand new kitchen. After getting all the landscaping done, I did some mining, and knowing that the ocean has tons of sapphire under it, which I know I can turn into some really useful tools, so I had to go down there and grab some real quick. And oh man, the tool I would create from the sapphire would become my best friend for a while. A very powerful scythe would be created. I called it my soul scythe because, you know, I have the naming originality of a 12-year-old on Call of Duty, but that's alright. It got the job done. See, the only thing I disliked about mining out these tunnels was the amount of freaking rock elementals that kept appearing in front of me every time I tried to get through some ore. They were incredibly annoying. I went through all my food supply incredibly quickly, which is where the benefit of the cheese pickaxe feeding me was just priceless. And on top of that, if I needed some extra saturation, it spawns so many rats I could use my bow and just light them up. But then I needed to head home to take care of a disaster.
Mount, damn it.
Ah, there's a celestial geonotch somewhere. Yeah, why is there a hole in our floor?
I have no idea.
I know why there's a hole in our floor.
Why?
You're fucking miner.
What do you mean?
It spawned a geonotch because there was an ore touching the wall. And when it spawned, it took a chunk out of the floor.
No, and now it's eating our entire base and coming
it's
after
this
me.
fucker. That thing. It breaks blocks. Why? God damn. Keep it away from the chest. After dealing with the rock monster mob boss that was turning the base into Swiss cheese, I finally got around to creating my scythe. This thing would make my life so much easier. It was a very destructive tool and weapon. It would allow me to create giant crop farms, which would become pretty useful in power generation, and also defend myself in close range better than the bow could, because it had a special ability in which it would launch things into the air and poison them, and it would plant me in place so that I wouldn't get knocked around a bunch whenever I got hit. Super useful multi-tool. I haven't owned a weapon quite like it ever since. See what the scythe does.
Do you like how I just kind of like fly away? Oh, there's another one. They're like face huggers, but worse.
There's a lot of raptors. There must be a host nearby.
They're coming out of the cave, Andrew.
What cave?
Oh, right here, Andrew.
Yep, that's a host.
Piss off.
However, I needed to level it up so I could put more stuff on it. However, to increase my skill with it, killing the random creatures in the ocean was just too slow. So I did create a crop farm. A huge one. Thousands of wheat. However, I had so many sapphires, this thing was easy to repair, and I was able to reap thousands of crops with it per hour. It was not a problem at all for this site, and I ended up leveling it up really quickly as well. And the crops doubled as a biofuel source, so we could fuel our generators, which could help Cameron do his weird sciencey machine stuff that I still didn't quite understand at this point. It was very nice. And after getting the crop set up, I decided, biomass? You know what? Let's go to the document crafter. And I created the living room. This little facility is an entire ball made out of flesh. It's a literal living room. And I used it to quarantine parasites that I would find. Because I didn't quite kill them off, but they couldn't escape the room. So it was a good place to harbor them until we knew what to do with them, or really just to keep the other parasites away by reducing the amount that can possibly be on the island. And after getting the living room set up, I decided to set up a fire fountain. Made a little pretty fountain made out of sandstone, put some fire water inside of, which I would use my brand new cloud pet on to set it ablaze so that I could literally farm the fire elementals that came out of this thing for their coal, their blaze rods, other important materials, fire elemental charges in case I ever have a fire elemental creature as a pet. This was pretty useful. It was easy to extinguish too, since it was all sourced back to one source block. You could put it out much easier than the wildfires we had on the borders in the past. At this point, I was starting to develop a large sum of pets. I had ones that could shield me, ones that gave me a regeneration. I even had my favorite, this little cloud, which actually let me fly, which boosted my productivity a lot. And I also had this pet. I also had two really expensive pets that let me summon things every 1.5 minutes using emeralds. It would summon just random stuff. And eventually I summoned another one from itself, along with a beacon, and it started raining diamonds. I was like, what in the world? What are the odds? So I scooped up them diamonds real quick and took that beacon and realized, oh yeah, I needed some iron. I was going to build a beacon base and we were going to have protection on this facility. So I went and got some iron. Easier said than done, because every time I broke up some iron ore, I got assaulted by a pack of very angry rocks. And I didn't appreciate that very much. But hey, it was good for my scythe levels. After getting the beacon fully set up, we had beacon power. I was able to put regen and resistance over the whole island, and that was that. After the beacon was set up, I decided to go mining again. I ended up finding a dungeon, and plowed my way through it because my scythe is just amazing. Before finding a crystal scepter. Yeah, I haven't owned a scepter in a while. This would be one of the first magic weapons I would acquire in space. So I went ahead and unsealed that thing, and stuck some batteries on it to give it extra durability. And then using my brand new magic triangles, I ended up getting something interesting.